Dear students, welcome to the video lecture of the UML dynamic modeling, that means behavioral diagrams. First, we have to discuss about what is the behavioral diagram or dynamic modeling. Events happen dynamically in all the systems. So events happen dynamically in all the systems. Objects are generally created and destroyed, and objects send message to another in orderly fashion in some system. The object also having a state. The state of object are very difficult to capture in a static model. So we need a dynamic model to capture the various states of the object. In an object-oriented system, one can express the dynamic semantic of the system with the following diagram. The behavioral diagrams are also known as interaction diagram. They are sequence diagram, collaboration diagrams, state chart diagrams, and the active diagrams. So these four diagrams are known as behavioral diagrams. So the interaction model. So human interaction diagrams. So there are two kinds of interaction model. One is sequence diagram and collaboration diagram. So first we are going to discuss about the sequence diagram. Sequence diagrams are essential, are easy and an intuitive way of describing the behavior of a system by viewing the interaction between the system and its environment. A sequence diagram shows the interaction arranged in a time sequence, an orderly fashion or in a time sequence. It shows the objects are participating in interaction by their lifeline and the message they exchange arranged in a time sequence. It shows the objects are participating in interaction. Objects are interacting with each other by their lifeline and the messages they exchange between the object, and they are all the messages are arranged in a time sequence. So interaction diagram has two dimensions. One is a vertical dimension, another one is an horizontal dimension. If you take a vertical dimension, it represents the time called as a lifeline, which is showed by the dashed vertical line, represents the object exists during the interaction. Next one is horizontal dimension. It represents the objects itself, shown by the box at the top of the lifeline. Next is a role. A role is a slot for an object within the collaboration that describe the type of object that play a role and relationship with the other objects. A role is a slot for an object within a collaboration that describe the type of object that play the role and relationship with the other objects. Messages, they represent by an arrow between the lifelines. Messages are represent the arrow between the lifeline. The order is shown from the top to bottom on the page. The arrow actually messages represented by the arrow between the lifeline. The order is shown from the top to bottom of the page. Next is a label. Each message is labeled with the message name. Message name can be an argument or a control information. Message can be sent to itself. A sequence diagram is an alternative way to understand the overall flow control of a program. So see example here, caller, exchange, receiver, talk are the objects. So the line is known as a lifeline. So actually messages are arranged in orderly fashion. It's shown by the arrow symbol and as well as they arrange in orderly fashion. So based on the order from the top to bottom order, okay, it shows the position of the message. First a caller off hook. He pick the phone and off hook. He take the phone, that's known as off hook. The signal sent to exchange. Exchange give a dial tone to the caller and caller dial the number. So these are the three the interaction between the caller object and the exchange object. Then caller dial the number. What to do? Exchange send the ringtone to the receiver. Okay. Then off hook of the receiver. Receiver took the exchange and as well as after the conversation over on hook. Okay. He put off the telephone call. The call again become disconnected. So this is a simple sequential diagram for a general conversation between the caller and receiver through the exchange, a telephone call. Next, we are going to discuss about the collaboration diagram. It represents the collaboration within the set of objects related in a particular context and interaction, which is the set of messages exchanged among the objects. The sequence is indicated by the numbering of the messages. Objects are represented in a rectangle. Message sent within the use case is represented by the arrows. This diagram is compressed. The things are like how the objects are linked together, and layout can be overlaid with the packages, and other informations are shown easily. Collaboration diagram is having several numbering schemes. The simplest numbering scheme is shown in the next slide, 5.6. The decimal numbering scheme is shown in the figure 5.17. The UML uses decimal schemes because it makes it clear with the operation calling with other operation. For example, the same caller and receiver exchange through the telephone receiver information. Sorry, conversation through the telephone exchange is shown here. This is a simple numbering scheme. So here the caller is an object number one, exchange is object number two, receiver, sorry, caller and exchange and receiver and talk are the objects. First, off hook, the caller pick up the phone, off hook. The exchange send the dial tone to the caller. Okay, second message. Next, the caller dial the number. This is the third message. Then the exchange send the ringtone to the receiver. It's a fourth message. That's why it's given as a four. Receiver, okay, he after the conversation, off hook. Okay, he remove it. Okay, he complete off hook. He took the car. He took the receiver. Okay, sorry, the receiver. He took the phone. That is known as a off hook. Okay, then talk is a next object. After the talking, on hook. Okay, what happened? Okay, the call was cut out. That message was sent to the exchange. Okay, this is a simple numbering scheme. The next one is known as a complex numbering scheme. We can say it's not a complex, it's a decimal numbering scheme. So caller is object number one, here exchange is object number two, receiver is object number three, talk is a object number four. The first one is off hook. Okay, the caller take telephone call. The object 1.1 means the object number one. Actually, its message is marked as a 0.1. Okay, off hook. Next, exchange. It provides the dial tone to the caller. Exchange object is 2. The first message is dial tone, which is sent to the caller. So 2.1. Next, what happened? The caller dialed the number. Object number one is a caller. It is second message. First message is half hook. Second message is dial a number, which is sent to the exchange. So exchange send a ringtone to the receiver. Exchange object number two is the second message is ringtone. The first message is dial tone already is given to the caller. So ringtone to the receiver 2.2 and receiver off hook. Okay, this is the receiver object number three. Off hook is a message number one 3.1. Talk, it's a conversation. So talk is a object number four. Okay, then after a conversation, actually it is on hook. Okay, cut down the call. It's sent to the exchange. So this is known as a decimal numbering scheme. The same collaboration diagram is shown in the simple numbering scheme and as well as the decimal numbering scheme. Interaction diagram has it is having its own advantages and disadvantages. Advantages: the main advantage of the interaction diagram is simplicity. Disadvantages: the interaction diagram are effective only they represent a single sequential process. Interaction diagram loses its clarity when there is a need to represent a complex condition, a looping behavior. Okay, that's it for the discussion. We start discussing about the behavioral diagrams. In the behavioral diagram, in this video lecture, we discussed about the sequence diagram and as well as the collaboration diagram. Okay, thank you for watching the video lecture.